Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we are going to be reviewing Wildlands, a game by Martin Wallace that came out 2018, I believe. This is a skirmish type game that I'd wanted to play for quite some time, but it is a bigger box game. It's kind of expensive, or it can be expensive, and I seen that the other week it was on sale. It was half price, so I went and I pulled the trigger finally, and I got it tabled a few times. So we're going to be reviewing this game today. And in this game, like I said, it is a skirmish type game. It deals with factions, so everybody gets their own faction, which is a set of 5 miniature fighters, and you also get a deck of cards with each of those factions. And the factions are somewhat asymmetric, or pretty asymmetric, I should say. There are the pit fighters, who are just going to be melee attacks. There's the mages, which are going to have magic. There's other factions who are going to have ranged attacks. There's another faction that's kind of a combination of everything. So they're a bit asymmetric. So you get the miniatures for them, and then the deck of cards. Then you're going to set out that board, and in the board has all these numbers. There's 1 through 42, I believe, and you are also going to be dealt 10 of these cards. The cards are going to have numbers on them that are going to be associated with each of those spots on the board. So you're going to look at those 10 cards, and you're going to assign 5 of them, 1 to each of your fighters, and then you're going to pass the other 5 cards to the other player. The cards that you put onto your fighters, that is where you're going to end up revealing those characters. Not at the very beginning of the game, but throughout the game, they're going to pop up on those different spots. So you're going to pass the other 5 to the other player. That player then puts their crystals on those 5 numbered spots. And the goal of this game is to get 5 points. You get a point for each crystal of yours that you have gathered, and you get a point for each fighter that you have knocked out from other people. The first person to get 5 points wins the game. It's an immediate end to that game. Now, how are you going to be moving around this board, though? You are going to have a hand of cards. At the beginning of the game, you draw 7 cards. And on your turn, you can take as many actions as you want, and each action you do is going to cost you a card to do that action. These cards are made up of these different symbols. On the left side of the card, it will show symbols of different characters of that particular faction. And that means that you can take the actions of that card with those characters. If it is just the character symbol, you can basically just move with that character. And each of these cards might have 2 or 3 different of the character's symbols on them. But if it's just the character symbol, you're going to just use that card as a move with them. Another character might have their symbol on it, which you could move with it, or you could do whatever the action is beside it. It might be a melee attack, it might be a range attack, it might be used for defense. There's different just actions that are going to be associated with it. So these cards are going to be multi-use. You're going to choose which character you want to use for them. I should say at the beginning of every turn, if you have characters that aren't revealed yet, you reveal one of those characters and you put that character out onto the board. And you can do multiple characters if you want. A lot of times you just want to wait to ambush other people. Like this person's running across the map, and boom, you're going to reveal a character, and you're kind of going to get in the way of the other people's characters. So you're going to be playing out these cards, attacking people, moving around the board, or you can gather up these crystals. If you're on a spot with one of your crystals, you can use 3 cards of that character symbol, play those down, and then you're going to gather those crystals. I talked about fighting. If you attack someone, they have a chance to use defensive cards, and the different defensive cards are going to be associated with different types of the attacks. You're going to need a different symbol if it's a ranged attack or if it's a melee attack. There's different defense for those. So, and there is also these interrupt cards in this game, and that is going to be one of the big parts in this game. You can play these interrupts. You have to let the other person take at least one action on their turn, but then you can play one of these interrupt cards on their turn, and basically then it's almost your turn. So then you can play out all these cards and do a bunch of actions if you want to, and you might even be interrupted by another player. But after you're done with your actions, when you interrupted someone, it goes back to that player's turn, and they can they can resume their turn. And you might want to play these interrupt cards. If someone like comes up to you and like all of a sudden starts attacking you, you could interrupt them and attack them instead, or else run away, or else you might want to interrupt someone to pop up a new character on the board and kind of surprise them and start attacking them. There's different things what you want to do when you're interrupting players. But you're going to be just playing out these cards, taking turns until one player has 5 points, and then the game is over immediately. And that's a very brief overview of what the actual game is. Now let's get into like my thoughts and review of this game, actually. The first thing I want to start with is the weight of this game, the complexity of this game. It is surprisingly light of a game. I would say it's in between a light and medium weight game. You can teach this game in about 5 to 10 minutes. I would say closer to 5 minutes if you're well versed in the game and you've taught it to a few people already. I think my third teach of this, it was about probably close to 6 minutes that I taught the people of that group in. So it is a surprisingly light game for it is a big dudes on a map sort of game. It is a pretty light game. It's surprisingly light. The next one, time. The amount of time this game takes to play. This is another one that is surprising for a big game. This game is going to take 60 minutes or less, and I'm talking about at 4 players or less even. This is a 2 to 4 player game. My first game of this was a 3-player game, and nobody knew how to play or anything like that, other than I taught them, and that took us about an hour. The next time we played, it was a 4-player game. 3 people knew how to play. That took us less than an hour. And then I taught another group of people, and that took about, a little bit less than an hour. So it was surprisingly fast. I think in this game, it's a race to 5 points. A lot of times you're getting a point every time it's your turn, where you might only take 6 or 7 different turns in this game, especially if you're interrupting other people. You're getting points pretty frequently, whether it's gathering crystals or attacking and killing people. So the game moves very, very fast in that sense. When other people have 4 crystals, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, this person's got 4 crystals. We gotta gang up and stop them." But another person might have 3 crystals, and on their turn, they went and gathered a crystal and then shot this other person and killed him. Boom, they won the game, and they just come out of nowhere and win the game. So it can end very fast and surprisingly for this. The strategy in this game, your plans, you're going to try and plan in this game, but it's going to hardly work out to what you think it's going to because of people interrupting or attacking you or moving here, or characters popping up in spots you didn't think they were going to be. So this game is just utterly chaotic, and it's hardly going to work out how you think it's going to, because the game changes so quickly from turn to turn. You might be keeping this card for this action on this next turn, but then someone attacks you and you're like, okay, I got to use this card for this character instead to defend with them, or else they're going to die. And so this game's all about opportunity and chaos. It's about surprises and reacting to those surprises, how you're going to deal with it, changing your strategy mid-turn, managing your cards. Your cards are multi-use, so you want to keep these cards for this action, but this happens instead, and you're like, okay, I got to do this instead. Or you're going to keep these cards to go get a crystal with this character, but this other character is now surrounded by these other characters. Do you want to use these cards as defense cards for that character? Because they're really good for that character, but you've got a lot of choices in this game, a lot of interesting, difficult choices each and every turn. Even when it's not your turn, someone's attacking you. Do you want to use that card as a defense card, or do you want to use it for a different character as a move, or to collect crystals, or attack these other characters? You've got a lot of options in this game of how this game is going to be turn and unwind throughout the game. And I found that narratives form in this game. Even though that's not very a narrative-driven game, I mean, it's like the apocalypse, basically, something like that. There's basically no story, really, especially from game to game. But I found that narratives do form in this game. I remember the one game I played as the mages, and these lawbringers, there was a lawbringer faction, and they were moving across, and I interrupted them, and I surprised him, put out my character right beside his character, and then my character just started bombarding his character with magic spells, ended up killing him. Then for the rest of the game, those lawbringers were going after the mages because the mage gang basically went and killed one of their lawbringers. So the police of this game were kind of going after the mages, and I just found it fun and chaotic how things end up unfolding that, and how a narrative unfolded in this game. So yeah, there's not a narrative, but narratives form from game to game, it seems like. And yeah, so for this review, I was going back and forth between a couple different numbers, and it was between a 9 and a 10, and I was thinking about it and thinking about it. And so this game it's light, it's fast, it's got a depth of choices, multi-use cards. Even the setup is interesting, choosing where your characters are going to set up or start and, ambush people, and where your opponent's crystals are going to be going. So there's so many choices in this game, and I was like, I don't know what I would change. If Martin Wallace came up to me and asked me, what would you change in Wildlands? I don't know if I could give him an answer. So Wildlands is going to get a 10. I don't know if it will stay up there or if it'll stay at a 10, but right now I'm really enjoying Wildlands and all the different choices that you're making, from the setup to the fighting to the hand management. I really like pretty much everything in this game, so I had to give it a 10. But yes, that is the review. That will adjourn this meeting. So make sure to comment down below, especially if you've played this game. If you haven't, what are your thoughts on this game? Am I rating it too high, or do you agree with me? And I found that I am a fan of these skirmish type games. I mean, I like Unmatched. I like Summoner Wars. There's a couple that I don't like as much, Funkoverse, and then there's the Disney Sorcerer's Arena. But these three out of those skirmish type games I really do like. So this is a type of game that I like, and maybe it's one that maybe you want to check out. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you all have an amazing day. Take care.